Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I am Felicity Ezewike. The UN General Assembly on Thursday, March 21, adopted a landmark resolution on the promotion of safe, secure and trustworthy artificial intelligence (AI) systems. Adopting the United States-led draft resolution without a vote but backed by more than 120 other member states, the Assembly also highlighted the respect, protection and promotion of human rights in the design, development, deployment and use of AI. The General Assembly also recognized AI systems' potential to accelerate and enable progress towards reaching the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This will be the first time the Assembly will be adopting a resolution on regulating the emerging field. The U.S. National Security Advisor reportedly said earlier this month that the adoption would represent a historic step forward for the safe use of AI. Historic or not, is it implementable? What issues does it address or bring to the fore that is important? To help demystify this, I am joined by Emeka Okoye, Senior Knowledge Engineer, Cymatics Limited. Thank you very much for joining us on one slot.
Thank you for having me here.
Let's begin with the significance of this adoption. It's described as a historic moment in the field of AI. Do you see it as such, this UN resolution?
Okay, so the major significance of that landmark resolution is that it's bringing all heads of states together to take a stance on AI. The truth of the matter is that artificial intelligence is going to disrupt, the global economy and, societies. And when disruption happens in one side of the globe, it's going to affect, the other side of the globe. So having that resolution was a way of bringing everybody to be on board on how to solve this problem. AI is not going to always have, the good part of it. It's also going to showcase our weaknesses. The truth of the matter is that it's going to amplify our strengths and exacerbate our weaknesses. So we need to make sure that we tighten, those weak side of things in our society, and make sure that fundamentally, let's address the SDGs. Remember that the SDGs since the year 2000, we've been trying, it started with the MDG, Millennium Goals. We haven't done that because especially the Global South have not come to speed. They do not have the kind of system where they could solve those goals. So in adopting this resolution, they are kind of forcing governments to now start thinking of AI in the light of these ongoing goals. And then we need to put into consideration that everything in any society is regulated, whether implicitly or explicitly. Okay? So for AI to be adopted in the society, it needs to go through government. And that's why it's significant that the biggest countries in AI today are those who the government played a very strong part. And bringing it down home here is one of the reasons why me and some other people are advocating reforms, because we do not have a government, the kind of government that can make the best opportunity with this AI. Take, for instance, we are talking about jobs. There are going to be job losses. We've not, since independence, Nigeria has not had a successful development plan that puts into consideration human development. We haven't done it.
Emeka, I'm trying to interject, and I'm trying to interject and get off something you said. You talked about reforms in AI, But one
Yes.
would be concerned because one of the reasons we're having this conversation is to demystify the need for a resolution. It's an emerging field that continues to change every day. So what would be, before we talk about, you compartmentalize it and talk about what's being done in Nigeria, what would be the main idea, in your view, of this resolution? What critical issues is it trying to address? Maybe from there we can talk about the reforms that is ongoing, that you're requesting.
All right. So the critical issues the resolution is addressing is the SDGs. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, why is the SDGs hard for us to achieve? Is the SDG, there's nothing AI is going to add except we are prepared for AI. And it's not like AI just appeared out of the blues. We knew AI was coming like 30 years ago. So now you understand my point that we need to have prepared ourselves. And we also need to be used to solving SDG or Millennium Goals.
So I'm trying to get specifics for the benefit of those who might not understand these SDGs and, you know, some of the issues in a broader form. Can you break it down? What specific issues are we trying to address with the growth and evolution of AI so that it can benefit human beings? For instance, the resolution emphasized the importance of ensuring that it respects human rights and international law. Maybe you could take it from there and elaborate for us why the UN thinks that this is important, and of course, from your view, if it is achievable based off your experience in the field.
The point is, again, I need to emphasize that, you know, achieving SDG goals has been one of the priority actions of UN. And we are still on it. Now we have entered the era of AI. What they have done is to bring everybody on board so that in their thinking of AI, let them start from a foundation of SDG goals. Because the SDG goals are very important to every society. So right now, the most important thing we should see from this is that everybody is now on board, have become signatory to that action. So they now need to see everything they are doing in the context of SDG to be part of what they want to do with AI. Like, for instance, poverty. Poverty is part of the SDG goals. So now we need to also think, how do we use AI to achieve that no poverty situation? So it still boils down to what I had said earlier. We didn't solve the problem without AI. Remember, artificial intelligence is about simulating intelligence and also augmenting intelligence. So it's to help humans. That's the thing. So the human that didn't solve the poverty problem and couldn't solve it, how would AI aid that person? That's the question we should be asking. So the thing is, they have gingered that those questions need to be asked as countries start preparing for their action plan on AI. That's the most important thing.
All right. I think I was trying to see if we could, you know, I think you've been able to do that. But let's go back to what you were trying to accomplish earlier, talking about the reforms that you think that we require, specifically in an environment like Nigeria, and maybe stretch it a bit to cover Africa.
Yeah. So it's still, you know, we need to see, for us to solve this problem, we need to go back and start thinking, where have we done it wrong in human development? Because we need to prepare. Like I said, countries should know these things are coming and start preparing citizens towards this. And the reason why countries prepare citizens, and when I say, your educational system and, training system should prepare people so that when these things come, we take advantage of it and make our societies better. So the question we need to ask is, why haven't we prepared ourselves for this before now? And then see what needs to be changed. That's why I emphasize on reforms, because we need to do that as quickly as possible. Because in this same resolution, they were warning that it has its implications. First thing first is that there's going to be a digital divide. That's a very major problem. If we start on AI today now in Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians will not enjoy the services of AI.
Okay, two things. I don't want us to touch on every area without at least the viewer taking something specific out of this. You talked about preparation and you talked about education, in the imperative of education and training in preparing people. And then you're now talking about the digital divide. This was something I was going to bring up a little later, because that is one of the gaps that the UN is trying to cover. Do you think that is even possible? But since you're there, it's some say it's a mirage, some say it's a pipe dream. Where do you stand? And you keep talking reforms. What in specific terms are you talking about when you say reform? Because reform covers a whole lot of issues. I know I muddled the questions a little bit. I think you get what I'm trying to ask.
Yes. All right. So let me start talking about the reforms part first. Then I'll zero into the issues of digital divide. Okay, so the reason why I have always been emphasizing about reforms is, unfortunately or fortunately, Africa is blessed with a lot of natural resources. What most of us don't know is that source of knowledge to every society comes from science. Africa should be the bedrock of science research. Unfortunately, it's not. Knowledge the world needs to prosper mostly resides in Africa. The raw materials the world needs mostly resides in Africa. But we have not taken advantage of that. Now we saw those resources and used it for prospering Africa and giving them some form of global ambition. We have to go back to that point. That's where the reforms is. Most of the governments in Africa tend to be laid back and rent-seeking, rather not development type. So for us to take advantage of AI, and like you acknowledge, there's so much changes going on. So you need a scientific or science-oriented government that is ambitious and mission-oriented to keep up in these AI times. So that's why the reforms are critical. First, and then we know how government needs to integrate with academia, because that's where the knowledge comes from. And they'll know what knowledge is applicable to the society or not. We can't allow other sovereignties decide what knowledge we should use. Now, with a reform government, we need to sit down and decide what AI will do for us. And that's where so many issues come in. Like, for instance, do we take our history seriously? What are the facts of the society? What are the things? We have tribal issues. What should AI do? What should AI not? We have terrorism issues. Should AI teach people how to make guns? These are questions. And for you to answer these questions, you need to bring a lot of people to the table, including linguistics, historians, our cultural leaders, traditional rulers. So it's a big deal. So it's only from a reform government can set up this. Then remember that one of the government's priority objective is to bring inclusivity. And for them to bring inclusivity, the most important thing they need to do is to make sure education is available to everyone. We all see what our out of school statistics are. You know, people out of school cannot enjoy the fruits of AI. It's the government's job to make education available to as many people as possible. So you see why the government at the center of AI implementation is very important, and why the UN is bringing everybody and saying, okay, just do it for the SDG goals. If you reduce poverty, make water available, make housing available, lives will be better. So basically, that UN resolution favors the global south because it gives them a form of template, something that they can build on, to create a better society, but they have to work towards it.
Resolutions are one a dozen. Like we have them all the time. We hear the UN say this, say that, but how can we practically use these things? There are concrete fears. You actually alluded to some of them. I was going to ask you specifically, but you talked about them in your response to the questions. There are specific fears about AI growing to govern us instead of us governing governing it. These are specific fears. I want you to speak on how governments can take from this resolution, adopt, you talk about reforms, adopt, localize it so that one thing is to make education available, and bridging the divide is also using education as well. But how can we do this in practical terms?
Well, that's why basically I've said everything that needs to, for us to practicalize that. The UN resolution is very good. We should just adopt it. That's a very good template to start. Then we now have to think of other major problems in the society. We have major problems. You understand? Take, for instance, a governor will rule a state and not provide water. What AI can't help, AI can't provide water, but AI will help anybody that intends to use it to provide water. Okay, so you see where it is why we really need to sit down and clearly say what we want AI to do, because the way AI might work in country A might not be the same way it will work in country B, because right now we are at ground zero. So the first step to practicalizing is government admitting, they are interested in taking this, and also seeing that they have their challenge. Okay. So they have to set up, they have to set up a committee that would advise governments on what steps they need to do. The government has to lead. All right. When the government doesn't lead, there's a problem.
You are a champion of reforms and ethical AI development. So I'm going to ask you, what are the key elements, even if it's not from this resolution, but generally that should promote ethical and responsible development and deployment of AI? We've seen situations where you have deep fake. Somebody can clone my face and then say something that I didn't say. In this day and age, it's becoming even more difficult to decipher which is fake and which is real. So I want you to speak on some of these ethical things and the responsibility. Who shares what responsibility, or who holds what responsibility?
All right. Let me talk one before I get to. So let me talk about the issue of humans mastering AI. I need us to understand that the creators of AI are humans, so AI will always be slave to humans. Forget what the bad actors with their bad ideas preaching that AI will have a mind of its own. No, everything is programmed by humans, and the people we should be worried about are the people creating AI, because if the bad ones create AI, then we're in trouble. So you see again why government needs to be on top of the game for the society to progress and be safe. Now, the issues of deepfakes and all those, I have to, we need to thank our government because they started with the Data Protection Act, which we have, and it's already going on, that the NDPR. So the government has started laying that foundation. We have enough laws to deal with all these problems, deepfakes, or you not saying, you being attributed to something you didn't say. I think a lot of the offline laws can address those things. We are not going to stop that, but we have enough laws to um, protect users on this. It's just that everybody needs to be empowered with the knowledge of all these laws so that one can know how to go about it. There will always be bad actors in society. We've already started seeing them. And this is again where we need leadership so that we can know what we are supposed to do and what we are not supposed to do. I'm not so worried about those non-ethical things because the laws are there. Okay. What I'm worried about is us consuming wrong information without knowing, and not understanding the implication. Take, for instance, health. Health is a very big and sensitive thing. We cannot take the way drug is applied to people in cold regions and use it in hot regions like Nigeria. This is why we need institutions. Okay, so as long as we have a society based on strong institution, strong system, and very good culture, then the laws can be applied. What we should worry are the people, the capacity of our leaders to lead us through this AI era.
All right. Let's take another angle. Given the rapid pace at which AI is advancing, by the way, there are people that will argue with you when you say it is man-made, so we have control always over it. There are even instances where that is being impacted. But you do have a point when you say we should worry about those who are responsible. But that is what a UN is trying to do. How can this resolution really keep up with future developments and technological innovation? Like I said earlier, it's an emerging field, there's rapid change. So how can this resolution keep up?
I said it earlier. Again, why the reforms are important is because when you have the culture of science research, that knowledge, this is where human development comes in. This is why it's critical, because we're not creating enough research. So that means we don't have enough knowledge. Okay. And knowledge we derive from our research has the context, our domain. So we're not generating enough to get the best for ourselves. So we need to have that culture. Today, Nigeria has one of the least population of researchers, science researchers in the world. Nigeria is not even spending close to 0.3% of GDP on research, when the top countries are on 1.52% of GDP. We can't compete. So you see why we need that reform. It's if we don't change now. Remember, we have a lot of problems we haven't fixed over the years. We have electricity problem, which we haven't solved. So the question, what do you want AI to do for you? Because AI can't electricity, but AI will help those who want to fix the electricity. Now, if you don't create those people who want to fix the electricity, then the AI is not going to bring positive change for us.
All right. I'm told we have.
You understand? We need to understand that fundamental. We need we need the right people. We need to create the right people who will use AI and create a prosper society.
I'm told we're out of time for this conversation, but thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.